On World News Tonight this Tuesday, did a truck try to beat the train? The horror on the tracks in Illinois.
I actually felt the ground shake. It was unbelievable.
Why are there thousands of accidents at train crossings every year? We'll take a closer look. The Dow Jones cracks 10,000, but for just a brief moment. What will the small investor do next? And an all-out public relations war. The campaign for the hearts and minds of the Academy.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight, Charles Gibson.
Good evening. There are now at least 13 confirmed dead in the crash of an Amtrak train south of Chicago last night. There are a handful of passengers still unaccounted for and feared dead. More than 100 were injured. It was a horrible accident. The train, named the City of New Orleans, crashed into a truck in the town of Bourbonnais, Illinois, about 50 miles south of Chicago. The 18-wheeler, loaded with steel rods, was halfway across the tracks when the train slammed into it. The truck's cab was untouched, but the train pushing steel down the track began to derail. Train cars buckled helter-skelter and piled up at odd angles 100 yards past the crossing. All of the deaths were in a sleeper car. You can see it there. Looking at it from a different angle, you can see how one of the engines actually cut right through the sleeper as the train collapsed. It's a wonder, but many survived. By the grace of God, said one passenger, I found a way to get out. The truck driver was not seriously hurt in the wreck. Tonight there are questions about his driving record and his account of what happened. But we begin with the crash and the harrowing rescue. ABC's Dean Reynolds is at the scene. Dean?
Charlie, to look at this wreckage is really to make one wonder, as you said, how anyone could have walked away alive from this accident.
The rising sun today offered a perfect view of a very tragic scene. Authorities scoured the scorched and dented ruins of what was once the southbound city of New Orleans, looking for survivors, even as the odds against them lengthened.
It's going to be our intention to continue our search until we are as positive as we can be that there are no survivors amongst that wreckage.
These were people who moments before had been enjoying a drink in the lounge, finishing dinner, or tucking in for the night. In just seconds, they were thrown from their seats. Diesel fuel spewed from the badly damaged locomotive, and the sold-out sleeper car was enveloped in flames.
Concentrate on the car right next to you that's burning, and that's the only place we're going to concentrate.
I saw people that were still trapped, you know, waving, trying to get out, helping. It was just scary. It was a scary sight.
Very petrifying fear gripped us then that we were stuck and we might burn.
Survivors spoke of flying bodies and falling baggage. The few witnesses on the ground at the time spoke of a deafening collision.
I heard an explosion, felt the ground shake, seen cars flying up in the air, just unbelievable.
The train was traveling at its legal speed limit of nearly 80 miles an hour at the time of the crash, but the damage was still extensive. The force of the impact bent the truck's flatbed at a vicious 90-degree angle. When rescuers arrived, they had to carve trapped travelers from their seats and blowtorch holes in the cars to set them free.
Amtrak says that the engineer of this train is a veteran employee who knows that route of the city of New Orleans very well. He's in the hospital now, and officials are eagerly anticipating his view of what happened here. Charlie?
All right, Dean Reynolds, tonight in Bourbonnais, Illinois. The investigation of this crash is focusing on the warning lights and gates at the crossing and on the truck driver. His license was suspended after multiple speeding convictions, and last night he was driving on a temporary permit. ABC's Jim Williams reports that his account does not match what investigators are finding.
Just after the accident, the crossing signal's lights were flashing and the gates were down, seemingly undamaged. Illinois Central Railroad, which is responsible for maintaining the crossing, examined the signal's computerized data recorder. Officials say it appears the truck's driver, 59-year-old John Stokes, should have had enough warning not to cross the tracks.
We have every confidence that the gates were operating perfectly last night, that they came down as they should.
Railroad officials say it takes 26 seconds from the time the signal's lights go on until the trains cross the intersection. But the driver says that's not what happened last night. He's telling investigators the warning lights were not on as he got to the tracks.
As he's just started to enter the crossing, the signals started, the lights started flashing, and he looked and he'd seen the train coming.
But the governor of Wisconsin, who is on the Amtrak board and has been briefed on the investigation, blamed the truck driver.
We got automatic signals there, went around and he tried to serpentine around the barrier and got caught there.
For dozens of drivers who every day make a routine trip from the nearby plant, this is a trip they make dozens of times a day. But for investigators are trying to determine how one trip turned into a disaster. Charlie?
All right, Jim Williams, also tonight at the accident site. Now, a truck on the tracks is a terrifying sight to the engineer of a speeding train, but it happens more than you might know. Just last year, more than 3,400 trains plowed into cars or trucks at road crossings. Those collisions injured 1,200 and cost more than 420 people their lives. ABC's Aaron Brown tonight takes a closer look.
They are very common. In a country as big as the U.S. with more than 160,000 public crossings, an accident happens more than 10 times a day, every day of the year. And half the time, including today's tragedy, the accident occurs at a crossing where there are gates or flashing lights or bells or all three.
The crossing in question today had the best technology we've got. It had lights, it had gates, it had a constant warning time connecting the train to the crossing. So it's the best we've got.
To reduce these kinds of accidents, the federal government will send the states $500 million this year, mostly to upgrade warning systems at crossings. And there is plenty of need. There are only warning signs, no lights or gates, at more than half. A better way to eliminate accidents is to eliminate crossings. The construction of bridges and underpasses is the main reason crossing accidents have been dropping steadily over the last 15 years. While that has been successful in some parts of the country, such as the heavily populated Northeast, it is not practical everywhere.
An overpass or an underpass costs hundreds of thousands of dollars in engineering and infrastructure, and possibly millions.
Getting people to stop playing chicken with trains is more cost-effective, because while there are cases where a warning signal malfunctioned or there was some problem on the train, most crossing fatalities are the result of a driver betting wrong at the train crossing. These pictures show what happens when a driver forgot a basic rule of the road.
That when they come to a crossing and they see a train, they never, ever try to beat a train.
Because it is that collision between impatience and common sense that more than 3,000 times last year led to this. Aaron Brown, ABC News, New York.
When we come back, the Dow up.
Death toll is now 14 in that terrible Amtrak crash.
That's first on Fox tonight. The truck, the train, and the terror. It has been a long, painful day on the tracks south of Chicago. Tonight, rescuers are still searching for the missing amid the twisted metal of an Amtrak train. Last night, it slammed a truck, then tumbled and burned. Brett Baer has the very latest from Illinois.
Here on the scene, there has been non-stop activity as crews continue to dig into the tangled mass of metal, fearing they may find more dead. Authorities say as many as 4 people are still missing. The death toll has been fluctuating today. The local coroner says that is because many of the bodies he has are in pieces. An official death toll probably won't come until late tomorrow. Meanwhile, the National Transportation Safety Board is on the scene looking for answers.
We are continuing the search effort in the remaining cars to see if there are any more victims or even possibly survivors.
But hope of finding anyone alive underneath the mangled wreck is fading. One by one, the train cars are being yanked apart. So far, all of the dead have been found in the first sleeping car. As the death toll rises, survivors are coming to grips with the crash.
It's just like a bad dream.
I was thinking it was the end of my life. I thought I was fixing to die.
10 NTSB crews are now working to try to piece together what exactly happened when the City of New Orleans train barreled into a semi-truck Monday night. Both the truck driver and the train engineer survived the crash and are being questioned. But late Tuesday afternoon, the NTSB investigators explained that there was a second collision. After the train hit the truck, it careened into a pair of train cars sitting on another track.
One full with steel, the other one full with some residue from the furnaces of the steel mill were parked on an adjacent track to this.
NTSB officials say that second collision could have made this crash much worse. Meanwhile, the driving record of the truck driver has come under some fire. He was driving under a suspended license, a probationary permit, at the time of the crash. In Bourbonnais, Illinois, Brett Baer, Fox News.
And now the record of Amtrak. The last Amtrak crash with multiple deaths came in February of 1996. Amtrak's Capital Limited hit a MARC commuter train in Silver Spring, Maryland. 11 people died in that one. And Amtrak's worst crash came back in 1993 when 47 people were killed as the Sunset Limited plunged into a bayou near Mobile, Alabama.
Now a look at what's being done to prevent such deadly train wrecks and some steps that you can take as a driver. Dave Schratweiser has that part of the story.
It's almost always devastating, almost always deadly. Experts say in most cases, a motorist getting hit by a speeding train on a railroad crossing is the fault of one person.
That's the driver of the motor vehicle. An awful lot of attention goes into the grade crossings. There's a federal state program to improve them. But so many of the accidents take place where people disregard the warnings that are there.
This Conrail demonstration video shows a railroad crossing crash up close. But Monday night's horrible train accident in Illinois was a real-life example of what can go wrong on the tracks. There's always a need for drivers to use extreme caution.
What do you do if you're on the crossing and then the lights go on and then...
Just keep on going. Don't stop. Don't try to back up. Just keep on going and get off.
There are close to 500 railroad crossing deaths each year, but the numbers are going down thanks to educational programs. Truckers and drivers are told that with a 10,000-ton train traveling at speeds of up to 100 miles an hour, a driver approaching a crossing has seconds to react.
There's a federal requirement on it to give a minimum of 20 seconds warning. Conrail, when we design a crossing, a new one, it gets 30 seconds warning as a general rule.
Railroad crossings are routinely inspected by Amtrak, SEPTA, and federal transportation officials. But even when the lights and the gates are working properly, some drivers still feel the need to cross the tracks even when a train is coming. There are no Amtrak crossings from southern Connecticut to the Baltimore area. Railroad officials say crossings are inspected monthly. Repairs are normally made quickly, but it all comes down to common sense.
Everyone should pay attention. Don't try to beat the train. It's not worth it.
Dave Schratweiser, Fox News.
Well, it's now official unless he wins.
engine was here yesterday.
Oh, okay, yeah.
83 something.
Road engine?
Yeah.
How come they have 4 sets of road power here?
We're running those two and the two that's rolling with them here came in yesterday. There was quite a light and changed their mind for some reason. We had FRA here all day shopping and stuff, right? So we're running 3 trains a day out here. 3? Well, actually 4. L9, Mo5, slab trains, and 2.
to rear end, roger. Thank you. 4, roger.